What are the stories of impact and ingenuity that are transforming our cities? Join us on the Urban Q, where we talk about tackling urban conundrums and celebrate stories, ideas, and people that help us create better cities for all. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Urban Q. Today, I have with me a very special guest, Mr. TV Mohandas Pai. Mohandas Pai is a Bengaluru-based business leader, venture capital, and philanthropist whose 40-year-long career has spanned finance, accounting, IT, education, corporate governance, social impact innovation, environmental conservation, policy formulation, heritage preservation, and investments in the startup ecosystem. He is the chairman of venture capital firms 314 Capital and the co-founder and chairman of Aarin Capital. Mohandas is the chairman of the Regulatory and Financial Technology Committee of SEBI, and he was previously the CFO of Infosys, during which time he helped establish the Akshay Patra Foundation. He was honored with the Padma Shri in 2015 and the Karnataka Rajyotsav Award in 2008. Welcome, Mohan, and thank you for joining us on the podcast, The Urban Q.
Thank you very much.
So, Mohan, I'll start with a question I ask all my guests, which is about your city, the favorite city. Now, you've made Bengaluru your home base during your extensive career and have had a hand in turning the city into a global technology hub and in India's innovation hotspot. So, is this your favorite city, or which is your favorite city and why?
Well, I'm born in Bangalore long time ago. I lived all my life in Bangalore. My kids have been born in Bangalore. I'm going to stay in Bangalore. This is my home. It's the most beautiful city, greatest city for me in the world. It's a beautiful city. I've watched it grow I was born in 1958, so it's a long time. When I was born, possibly there are 500,000 people. Now there are maybe 12 million, 13 million people. So I watched it grow to become one of the greatest tech centers in the world. And I love Bangalore because it's essentially a big middle-class town, a town or a city where there are a large number of billionaires, but whose citizens respect the scholar, the scientist, the artist, the writer, the sculptor, the educator, etc. Bangalore is home to more than 50% of the population who have come from outside Karnataka. Is a multilingual place where it's very liberal, very tolerant of everybody who comes from outside. It has the greatest collection of software people for any city in the world, 2.5 million. 60,000 IT companies, 25,000 startups, 45 unicorns. It exports nearly $85 billion of software every single year. And we create 150, 200 high technology jobs every single year. And this is the place where the future of humanity in technology is being written. It is a science city, biotech city, electronic city. It is an aeronautical city. It is a city of fashion. Is a space city, is a telecom city. Every piece of high-tech manufacturing and high-tech industry is here. It has more than 350,000 chip designers and testers, more than 320 companies in this area, the largest such collection anywhere in the world. And it's got wonderful people. It's the people of Bangalore who make up what Bangalore is. And I think their culture, their traditions, their welcoming nature, and I think is what makes a city great.
No, that's wonderful. You clearly know the city inside out, Mohan. But I really like the point that you raised about, the values, the city has, and how that is it's a great sort of, way in which the city has come up, it being a melting pot of cultures, and the people is what make the city. So that's fantastic. Now you've all, often spoken about India's economic transformation, and in your view, and given the growing competition from emerging markets, what must Indian cities do to attract and retain global investments and skilled talent?
Well, I think what Indian cities need to do is develop their infrastructure. There's an underinvestment in India all the time for the last 75 years. And in rural India, 70% of farmers' children don't want to live there. They want to go to the towns. India has forgotten that urbanization is the key to development. Urbanization leads to concentration of human activity. Concentration of human activity leads to specialization. Specialization leads to higher productivity, that leads to higher income. And wealth is created in urban areas, not rural areas. And today we spend 9 lakh crores about $110 billion of subsidies, giving money to largely rural people, and we don't spend enough in the urban areas. The governments, both the center and the states, this year, 25-26, will spend about 110 lakh crores. That's about, how much is that? 110 lakh crores is $1.25 trillion in the budget. Now, don't tell me they can't find money to develop our cities. Look at Delhi. Delhi gets a lot of money from the union government, is well developed, 430 kilometers of metro. And I think we need to pick up the top 10 cities and fund them and build the kind of infrastructure required to improve the quality of life, the ease of living, and higher productivity. If we're able to do that, people from all over the world will come here. We have more than 200,000 American citizens in Bangalore, but they're largely Indians. Please remember, many of the Indian software engineers went to America and had their babies there, and they come back with US passports, right? And we have many expats staying here. 100,000 PhDs live in Bangalore. So overall, I think we need investment. We have to make the city much more livable, large parts of the city. There are parts of the city which are highly livable, gated communities, etc. But that's not what a city is. A city is a place where people gather together, people can walk, people have public transport, the areas of interest, the museum, cultural centers, there's places for people to interact, beautiful restaurants, hotels, and all the social life of a city. That's where we have to concentrate, we have to develop. And it is not at the cost of any rural area. There's enough to spend on rural and urban India. So I think we got to prioritize, and cities can be engines of growth.
Absolutely. So let me pick up on that thread about infrastructure and also funding, right? I mean, clearly, over half of India's urban infrastructure is yet to be built, right? What we are going to need in 2030, 40, 50, that's yet to be built. Now, you're saying that, there's no lack of money, but in terms of channeling this funding, that remains a bottleneck for urban infrastructure growth. I mean, we've been doing better in the last sort of 10 years, but much more needs to happen. Now, having been at the forefront of sort of business and, as an advisor to policymakers, your involvement in Gift City, what are the critical steps to unlock this, much needed investments at scale and quickly, both at the government's end as well as the private sector for this infrastructure to fall in place?
See, the most important thing is to improve urban governance. We have the 78th, 79th Amendment to the Constitution, which created the Panchayati Raj mechanism, but we didn't do the same for the urban areas. We have to have a city government in Bangalore with a full-time mayor whose job depends on how we improve the quality of life of Bangaloreans. We can't have a city where all the powers are there with the state government, a city where no elections have been held for the last 3 years, and a city which is run by the state government from sitting here in the Vidhan Sauda, with the chief minister acting like a mayor. We can't, and the MLAs running the city. We can't do that. We need city governments. The city government has to be empowered to collect the taxes which are local. They have to be empowered to spend that money. We need a full-time mayor. Maybe Bangalore requires 4 or 5 city corporations. And once you bring in this governance reform and give them that ability, they'll do well. So we must have a constitutional reform to bring in local government. And it all starts there. Once it is there, the city government will be able to borrow money to spend on infrastructure. They'll be held accountable by the citizens. And citizens will not feel the need to approach the state government. We need an identity for the city. This should be there for all cities.
We need to fix the governance. No, that's great. So let me talk about governance a little bit and bring in sort of the technology angle here. So as someone, you have long championed technology, digital transformation. How do you see things like AI, IoT, big data shaping the governance of Indian cities in the next decade? Is this one way to, think about governance involving citizens' participation and getting them on board?
See, the biggest challenge in urban governance is to interact with the recipients of governance. Now, if we talk about India, we have a prime minister, we have a council, we have a government in Delhi. How do they interact with citizens? The transmission loss from the policy they make to the impact on citizens is very, very high. The loss in money coming from the top to reaching citizens is very, very high. Now, you can use technology to directly reach the citizens. We have done about 35 lakh crores, $500 billion of money in DBT over the last 10 years. The money has gone directly. About 3 lakh crores have been saved because of direct transmission, right? So in urban governance, my view is that all cities should develop a digital twin of the city where all the infrastructure, everything is made digitized and is fully available for everybody. and where they can simulate traffic conditions. They
Hmm.
can simulate maybe let us say, the public transport. They can simulate what happens in case they give some construction permits and how crowding will happen. And they can control crowds, they can control the lighting in the night, they can control the water supply, they can control the sewage supply and the cleaning and everything else by creating a digital twin and having cameras all over the place. Now, I know many people are concerned about surveillance and all that, but that we can have a lot to protect the ordinary citizens. So that will reduce the distance between people who govern and the governed, and make for many urban requirements to be easily available. Anything to do with government approval, permission can be digitized and it can be available immediately without any human intervention, because the rules can be set. And maybe 95, 97% people follow the rules and come within the ambit of the rules, which are very transparent. So you can improve governance, reduce corruption. Corruption is a very big issue in urban India. AI can definitely help and reduce barriers.
Right. No, that's great. And let's talk about urban policies in this context, in terms of sort of reducing barriers. Now, given the evolving sort of dynamic of the future of work, remote work, automation, shifting job markets, what urban policies can best prepare our cities and city regions to remain sort of hubs of employment, entrepreneurship, and innovation?
Well, I think the first thing that we need in a city, very importantly, is how to make people productive. Productive means how can people go from job to work in the shortest possible time
Yes.
without spending large amounts of time in commute.
Yes.
An average Bengalorean spends 2 to 3 hours a day on commute, much of them stuck in traffic.
Yes.
How can we do that? And we have tried building public transport, we have tried building metros, we have tried everything else. But the biggest innovation in the recent past is the 15-minute city. How do you replan a city or create within the city workplaces which are very close to where people can stay? Then interact those nodes so that everything that you want is available within 15 minutes walking distance. So people can walk to work, people can walk to shop, people can walk for entertainment, people can walk to the park, etc. And it's available. It's not very difficult to do it. Paris has done it. I think Japan, Tokyo has done that. Many other cities are doing that. If a large number of people, 60, 70, 80% can live in a 15-minute city, I think it will work. For example, old Bangalore was like a 15-minute city. The Malleshwaram area, the Basangudi area, the Jayanagar area, the Indira Nagar area. So we got to sit at replanning the city to see that how it could happen and allow vertical development for offices and other areas within multiple areas, so people can congregate, link together by big footpaths, or possibly by metro or short buses. So you don't have to traverse all across the city. Second thing is we have work at home policies everywhere. It will be available to many people. It can be 3 days, 4 days, doesn't matter. People can work. We have technology, we have the internet, we have everything else, and that certainly improves the quality of life, can reduce commute. So people can do that. And we got to also make sure that a large section of our young people who got colleges and schools also don't have to commute too much. The biggest challenge for all our cities is the commute problem that has to be solved. Because power problem, water, sewage, we can solve it. But commute is the biggest problem. It happens every single day. And if you look at the big cities like London and others, I mean, people walk. 20-30% of people walk all around. Bangalore is a walking city. That's why I keep arguing and fighting with the politicians, clean up the city, make up the footpath, remove the potholes, public transport. So at least 15-20% of people walk. I walk to office 2.5 kilometers one way every day. I find it very pleasant. It calms me down and it's very good for me, and my health improves. So I think it's very important to solve this big problem. And that has to come by reimagining the city, replanning the city, and making sure the newer areas have everything under them.
That's wonderful to hear that you're a proponent of sort of, creating walkability and walkable cities. About this whole question of proximity that you're raising, what's happening is now because of that, because of real estate costs, infrastructure constraints in these larger cities, many tier 2 and 3 cities are emerging as new economic hubs, right? So how can these cities now attract business, create jobs, and build sustainable and resilient infrastructure for long-term growth? And what are the lessons that we can learn from some of the, global or Indian success stories, if you have any to share?
Look, small cities are parts of big cities in a sort of a way. A small city will have certain amount of commercial space, certain amount of residential space, certain amount of cultural places. And if you take the all the things that happen in 10 small cities, could be in one big city. I mean, cities have to be developed so people can stay. And in between cities, you need fast commute, like that high-speed metro between Meerut and Delhi, right? Meerut and Delhi, you can go in 50 minutes, which is very good. The traffic, the train goes at 125, 130 kilometers. In China, the high-speed trail goes at 300 kilometers. You can go from Beijing to Tianjin, which is about 150 kilometers away in 30 minutes. Imagine I go from Bangalore to Mysore in 30 minutes. We can stay in Mysore, work in Bangalore, and vice versa. Today, it takes 2.5, 3 years, even after the expressway, right? Why can't we have fast train to reduce it to 1 hour? Make it 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour is how much? 132 kilometers, 150 kilometers. We have the trains to run. So we are not invested enough in urban areas. We're not invested enough in infrastructure. That is the biggest problem. You go to Hong Kong in the financial center, the metro is right at the bottom. From the airport, you come right at the bottom and get up and go to the hotel. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't have to get up at all. You go to Singapore, they're building an underground city. You go to Tokyo, they build an underground city where people can walk from building to building underground through shops. They don't have to come on the road at all. So you have two levels of walking. In the CBD, we can do that very easily if there is concentrated activity. Cities cannot be sprawling. Cities like Bangalore is trying to become, or a Delhi is trying to become, or a Los Angeles trying to become. It needs to go vertical. Singapore is a good model of vertical places and housing, where by 15, 20 minutes you can commute from your housing to the places where you work. Or you can walk in the streets, which are very good. Or you can walk underground through office blocks for a large part of the way. Tokyo can be another area which is there. I think those are the things, but they require investment, they require planning, they require vision, they require good governance. The worst thing about India is the lack of urban governance. That is the biggest challenge we have.
No, absolutely. And let me circle back now to the last question, to kind of circle back to the point that you made earlier about how Bangalore within a certain amount of boundary is, you know it really well, but when you step outside of the municipal boundaries and go to the new growth areas, it's almost unrecognizable. That's the story of all Indian cities, right? They're under immense pressure to grow rapidly. Yet the expansion that everyone is experiencing is coming at the cost of livability, sustainability. There's no plan over there. And I want to talk a little bit about the role of sort of, urban leaders and private sector businesses. Now, how can urban leaders such as yourselves and others balance these economic aspirations that all of us have with the need to protect that growth, to make it more climate resilient, because climate is just staring at our face. Bangalore is going to get hotter. We are going to see more areas kind of flooding, and all kinds of things are going to continue to happen. How do we balance this? And are there examples that offer a roadmap for achieving this balance in your mind?
For cities like Bangalore, first we need representation from the city of Bangalore in governance. And it has to be self-governed. That's the first starting point. Second is the citizens have to be engaged. We need ward councils. We need interaction with citizens. And maybe in the municipal corporation, 25% of seats or 20% of seats have to be nominated. Because many people who have got an interest will not contest election for whatever reason. They're not political creatures, all right? So we got to have a proper nomination, and there's got to be a response. Once the city governance is local, then the response becomes much better. That is the first improvement. They must have independent sources of money. One solution is to make sure Bangalore has 5 city corporations, so no one mayor become very powerful. Second, we need more seats for urban areas in the state legislature and in parliament. If those two things happen, there'll be substantial improvement, because politicians respond to the electorate.
Right.
That's for sure. They respond to the electorate. They may take more time, they may take more things, they respond to the electorate. And I think that's very clear. But we need them to respond at the macro level, and that is not happening. And today we have a very vibrant citizens group of all shades and color. Many people are participating, many people are meeting, many people are putting ideas. It's extremely democratic, very broad-based today. 20 years back, it was not broad-based. A small group of people who are public spirited trying to do it. Now a larger number of people are coming, which is very good. Larger number of people should participate. I keep telling every young person, spend 10% of your time on community. Doing work for the community, because you work for the community, your quality of life improves.
Right.
You can't sit back and keep cribbing and making nasty remarks on public media, social media about a city and others and not do anything. Spend 10% of your time on the community, work for the community, your life will be better. and together we can make things happen. So I think these are the big challenges. And unless you solve the fundamental issue of governance, all of us believe we need one powerful chief minister or a powerful bureaucrat who with a van can change things. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. We need a proper democratic structure. Democracy works. It is slower, but we need proper representation, participation, everybody, so that everybody maybe gets what they want or their voice is heard. We need a lot of public housing. And I think it's very important to get a proper perspective. Only 7% of India is urban India. Only 7% of India's landmass. That's why the biggest thing we can do is prevent cities expanding, encroaching on other areas. Go vertical in the heart of the city, so that the area you occupy will be lesser, the commute problem will be lesser, pollution will be lesser by having underground transport, underground walkways. You understand?
I really like the point that you mentioned about getting people to volunteer, especially youth, to volunteer 10% of their time in actually improving their community. I really like that point. Thank you so much for your perspectives, Mohan. There was a great conversation, and you brought forward many points which are very interesting. And not only do they apply to Bangalore, I think they apply to many cities in India and everyone who's struggling and in the same boat as we are. So thank you very much, and look forward to connecting soon.
Thank you. You know, we have been working for the city for the last 30 years.
Yes.
There are a group of us. Now, in the last 3-4 years, many more people have come. I hope we need a new generation to come forward to spend 10%, 15% of the time, work for the city, talk to government, and improve governance. I think a new leadership has to come up. I hope many more young people will come up, take the responsibility, and grow a city. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.